I'm talking this morning with Andy Hart and Jerry Lawrence about AI. Gentlemen, we were talking earlier about how does the chief executive of mid-market business identify opportunities to use AI to improve their business. Jerry, you have some thoughts on this.
Yeah, so I would start by looking for things in my business that are already issues that I'd like to tackle, where I can see a real benefit. So, for example, if I look at, say, the construction industry and I see that, well, gosh, there's 30 fatalities a year in the UK. There's 27 out of 1,000 people have an accident each year in the construction industry. How do we reduce that? And what would the impact be on our business if we did reduce it? Using AI, you can do image scanning. You can look for people wearing hard hats automatically in a way that a human being can't do as effectively and is much slower. So there are certain things that are now possible that perhaps would have been challenging in the past, would have been difficult to tackle, would have maybe required a lot of people to do physical labor or manual labor or looking at screens for long periods of time.
The security example actually is a good one, where we've seen plenty of cases where our principals are using AI to process images that, as you say, would previously have required a control room with people with flat caps looking at screens all day. That's expensive and barely practical, whereas AI makes some of these things possible that weren't before.
Indeed, and a lot of these tools are actually already available. So in some cases, in many cases, in fact, you don't need to invent stuff completely from scratch. There's software out there that already exists that uses AI in its core that will help you do this. So on one hand, you may find that it's just a question of going out there and looking for the right tool that exists.
Andy, any thoughts?
Yeah, so I think if you take that to its logical conclusion, any bulk repetitive job that you have people doing, and people are expensive, right? And there's a shortage of them. That's probably not going to change anytime soon. How do we take that work, redeploy those people to give them something more interesting and meaningful to do, but find a product or a solution that enables us to solve some of these big problems we've never been able to solve before? Maybe it's, in the legal sector, it's sorting through huge numbers of lease agreements in multiple languages. Maybe it is a safety issue. Maybe it's predictive. So instead of using these large language models that we hear so much about in the news and in marketing these days, maybe it's another facet of it where we're predicting an outcome from masses of data and maybe multiple data sources, all of which would have just taken up huge amounts of people time, months to do. And now actually maybe we can have it in a few hours or a few days.
It's also the fact that size is less important for a business for success now. In fact, one could consider it to be an advantage to be smaller and more nimble. And a company that has a lot of legacy capital tied up in existing tools and processes will find it harder to transition into these new technologies. So perhaps this is absolutely the right thing to be doing for the smaller and mid-sized businesses.
Yeah.
I think that's a really interesting point, Jerry, that in some ways, this kind of technology favors the mid-market business over the large business because in many ways it reduces the value of having a gigantic complement of people. So whereas in the past, only large business could accomplish a large and complex task, that's no longer the case because a small business has access to artificial intelligence rather than just large numbers of people. Okay, thank you both very much indeed.